Well, John, thank you very much. One of the great things about working for the farmer-owned cooperatives is that I think there is a strong recognition within the agricultural community of the role that farmer-owned cooperatives bring in terms of adding value for our farmer members. And that value can take the form of better access to fertilizers, feeds, fuels, credit. It can take the form of branded products that consumers go and buy with confidence. A lot of value equation that farmer co-ops bring to our farmer-owned members. And I will tell you, as an advocate for this group in Washington, D.C., as a public policy advocate, this is a great scenario for us as an organization, because I think we've all, from time to time, been involved in those circumstances where you feel like you're just having to stretch it a little bit to put that best foot forward. You're having to make the best out of limited good news scenarios. Back where I come from in Indiana, they call it putting lipstick on a pig. I mean, this is. In this case, I have found that in our advocacy on behalf of farmer-owned co-ops, there's absolutely none of that. You just simply have to tell the story, and the story is the tagline. That's all you need to do. And we often times do have members who perhaps don't know members and individuals who don't know that story well enough, and it's our challenge to tell it. But the great news is, once you tell it, I think everybody gets it very, very quickly. I will tell you that certainly you have to acknowledge that farmer-owned co-ops have changed dramatically over the last several decades. I mentioned I grew up in Indiana. My father was a farmer. He was a member of a farmer-owned co-op. My family continues that farm today. When it was in my grandfather and father's hands, we raised 5 crops, sold 5 different farms of livestock, very, very diverse, small farming operation. Today, my brother raises 1 crop, and that's it. It's every bit as much a family operation today as it was back then, but obviously a very, very different farm. And you would expect, with those kind of changes at the farm level, co-ops, the co-op I grew up with is a very, very different co-op, the one that exists today. And they have had to respond to those dramatically changing market circumstances that have existed within our farming community as well. And a co-op that would be the same today as it was 30 years ago is going to be a co-op that is probably not going to be doing much business in America today with our farming community the way it is. I will tell you, though, that one of the constants that remains out there, regardless of the change that may occur in farmer-owned co-ops, is that those co-ops absolutely and positively exist for the purpose of serving their farmer members. And that is as true today as it was, when I was growing up 35 years ago back on the farm. Absolutely and positively, their sole reason for existing is to provide that credit, to provide access to that better product, to provide the market for those products, to provide leverage in terms of negotiating the price for those products out there. And I mentioned change. I mean, obviously, one of the changes we have seen, farmer-owned co-ops have gotten bigger. But we like to point out that the people that we are marketing to on behalf of our farmer owners are a lot bigger than the farmer-owned co-ops, that we represent, and are growing at a much more rapid pace than the farmer-owned co-ops we represent. In some cases, we often sit around and wonder, is our purchasing, power, negotiating leverage with these members increasing or decreasing? And I think it's a viable question, to put forward out there. So yes, there's been growth, there's been a lot of change, but those changes have been done to serve the farmer members, to continue to make sure that we have the ability to negotiate the best, fairest price for them, to give them the best chance to be farmers next year and be farmers for the next generation. I will tell you as well that in my view, in the local areas, the philanthropic nature of farmer-owned co-ops is as strong as ever. There has always been a strong sense in our rural communities that, first of all, the best jobs in the communities are often co-op jobs. But secondly, they are there to support the community. I've had a lot of firsthand experience at this, folks. I mean, I was a 12-year member of 4-H. I think probably 7 or 8 of those members, the local co-op, bought my 4-H animals. I mean, it was a charity, a philanthropic type of circumstance. That kind of thing goes on all the time out there in our farmer-owned world today. So they're very, very integrated into our community. Again, despite the fact that we all acknowledge that there's been a lot of change out there as well. So it's a great system. It's a great business structure. It's a great business structure because ultimately they have one purpose and one purpose only, and that is, to serve their farmer members. And when they change, the good co-ops adapt, change, help these guys get the prices they need, help them to get access to what they need in order to produce food for a country that I think is a remarkable system. And we often remind each other, there's talk of food price inflation, but we're still at about 11% of our disposable income in America going to food, and that is the lowest of anywhere in the world. And I think farmer-owned co-ops play a key role in making sure that our consumers have access to that low-cost, diversified food supply.